Welcome to episode 25 of One Old Man's Opinion. I'm the old man. Today I'm going to talk about that tragic bombing, I guess we'll call it a bombing, of the girls' school in Iran. Seemed to be a lot of finger pointing going on. Not necessary. But I'll go through the possibilities. Was it an accident or was it deliberate? Chances are, probability is that it was an accident. Although Iran has demonstrated by sponsoring Hezbollah, Hamas, and Houthis that they are perfectly willing to put their own people in front of their weapons, shield their missiles with their women and children rather than protect their women and children with their missiles. But I do not believe that that's what happened in this case. So it was probably accidental, because it's pretty clear that the United States and Israel go to great lengths not to hit civilian targets, especially schools and hospitals. No matter what they're accused of, they know that those are two of the most important things to stay away from. And so when it happens, but it doesn't happen by design. So being an accident, let's see how could it be an accident? It could have been an accident that a missile went off course. Could have been anybody's missile to go off course, but it does happen. Or somebody's drone went off course. Probably, there's a possibility that an Iranian missile failed when it was on the way across the Gulf to, one of those other countries. This place where it happened is right on the edge of the Gulf, and fire was going in both directions over it. Could have been a missile falling short. Don't think it was. Could have been debris from a following. No, wasn't debris from an intercepted missile, because it would have done more damage. So, what do we got? What we got is it was probably an incoming missile from the United States. There was an attack on the naval station that's adjacent to where the school is by Tomahawk missiles. 3 building complexes were taken out. The 4th one in that campus was the girls' school, and it was part of the naval base up until about 10 or 12 years ago or so. I'm not sure when it was. It's possible that the intel was stale, that the Americans actually thought that was part of the naval base. But from the aerial photos, the before and after aerial photos that I looked at, I came to the conclusion that it was a Tomahawk that went astray. I think that because if you look in all the other 3 points that were attacked, they were totally leveled. But when it came to the girls' school, only one end of the building was leveled. A little more than half of it on one end. They didn't, in other words, they weren't attacking that building the way they normally do, or they would have been completely obliterated. So I'm thinking, sadly, tragically, it was an American Tomahawk missile. One that went where it shouldn't. Not by design, but because something went wrong. So there were 170 some odd people killed, most of them little girls. It's bad enough when any civilians are killed. Well, it's bad enough when any body is killed, but it just gets progressively worse with civilians, and then some of those, when those civilians are children. Any parent trying to visualize one of your children being brutally, that's hardly a good enough word, hideously dismembered by a military explosive. That's pretty bad. And I think that's what happened. That's just one old man's opinion there. It was an oops. It was probably our oops. We won't know for sure until they get a chance to actually examine the site, which may not happen, well, almost certainly will not happen until the fighting is over, for them to be able to send people in there to do a forensic poking around. Whatever hit that thing will leave traces. And we have people who can tell you what it really was. Until then, we're just guessing. My guess, with about a 70% feeling of certainty, a confidence of about 70%, I think it was an American explosive. Sad. Well, sometimes awful things have to happen. In case anybody thinks that the best way to cure this is to just stop dropping bombs, I want to suggest to you what might happen, or what almost will certainly happen, if we just say, okay, we're done with this and stop. The Iranians will go back to enriching their uranium. They'll go back to working on their missile program. They'll go back to developing an ICBM, something they can hit the United States with. When they have all those pieces put together, they will then assemble the nuclear weapons. They don't have to actually physically put them together until they're ready to use them. So they can always look you in the eye and say, "Oh, we don't have nuclear weapons. We were going to develop them, but we don't have any. If we don't finish this, that's where we're going to end up." And how do we know? Well, back during the Iranian Revolution, 41 years ago, 40, whatever it was, the first thing they did when they took over was invade the U.S. Embassy and hold our people hostage for 400 and some odd days. They have declared from the outset, from the very beginning of the Islamic regime, or Islamic Republic, that they are going to destroy us. And all of their enemies, which is to say anybody that doesn't think the way they do. So if we don't take their toys away, it's a matter of time. Might take them another 40 years to get back to where they almost did it, or not. Probably not, because they've made great technical advances. They've got a running head start now, even though it looks like rubble from here. They can have a bomb well before they need one. They're still a couple years away from an ICBM, but it wouldn't be too long. We can't let that happen. That's why we are there now. That's why we have to stay until the job is done. It's horrible. It's really awful that those little girls were hit. But, well, we can't let that stop us. One old man's opinion. Travel with God. Like, subscribe, and share. We got to keep that algorithm warmed up.